Hey guys, welcome to another stream. I think this is my third one, if I remember correctly, or maybe my fourth one even. After last week's 10K stream. So first of all, let's do some technical checks. Yeah, let me know if you can all hear me. Maybe post a comment so that I can see that my chat app is working correctly over here. I know there's always a bit of delay on the line, so I probably need to wait about 10 seconds till any of you guys respond. Hang on, I can also try this with my own comment, of course. Yeah, so I am able to put a chat comment on screen. That's good. Anyway, yeah, maybe I'll just get started until some other people may trickle in, but that's okay. Yeah, this stream I wanted to try something else because I wanted to actually have a look at one of the mixes that I did for the recent Wash album. The song is called Always Yours, and I figured it's it's the only acoustic song on the album actually. And I figured it might be interesting to just go through the mix, have a listen to the song, and then go through the mix. And there are some specials in there, also because it's an acoustic mix, which I've not done a lot. The rest of the tracks on the album are mostly electric, rock pop. So I did a couple of things which made it fit a bit more into that electric rock pop vibe. So it's not just purely an acoustic mix, but I think it's quite a powerful acoustic mix, but maybe you can tell me after you've heard the track whether that comes across to you as well like that. So let's see. Maybe if somebody can put in the comments whether you can actually hear me, because it would be kind of a shame if we continue this and you don't actually hear me, there's no sound. I can hear myself, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all working. I think we have 7 people watching now. Yeah, so, well, as soon as somebody's there you go, poppers. Hi, what do you think is the best preamp plugin 2023? I'm about to spend some money. Or I'm just going to go with Slate subscription. Yeah, I think, well, it's not related to what I'm discussing in this chat, but, and Lauren say, loud and clear, that's great. Miguel, sound is up. Well, thank you guys. Thanks. As for the preamp plugin, I'm not exactly sure what you mean with the preamp plugin. Do you mean like a channel strip plugin maybe? Like a full EQ, gate, equalizer? I think I'm quite liking the Plugin Alliance AMIC 1999 myself. I use that quite a lot, and from Plugin Alliance I also sometimes use the SSL 9000. Actually in this mix that I'm going to show you, I'm using that plugin as well. I don't think I had the AMIC 1999 yet at that time, so yeah, those would be my choices. But hey, if you go with a subscription, I know in the Slate subscription, I'm not subscribed to Slate, but I know there's lots of plugins in there, and yeah, it's always good to try out, and you can cancel anytime, right? So you're not likely to lose a lot of money on that subscription. Well, since the sound is okay, let me, so this live stream is a bit different from my other live streams. I've not really I don't really have a formula for a live stream at the moment anyway. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to have a look at the mix, like I just told you in the beginning. If you guys have any other ideas for live streams, just post them in the chat. I may react to that. I may see them later. If you have nice ideas, by all means, put them in there. And I can see whether I can oblige or whether they fit with what I want to do on this channel as well. Maybe for the mix, let me just share my screen here for a second. If I put something nice on screen, that is. So this is the website of my band Wash. If you've been on this channel before, you know that I play guitar in this band. We play pop rock music in English. So and we've been together for quite a long time already. And in beginning of this year, we released an album called To Where the River Starts, and one of the songs on this album is an acoustic track called Always Yours. These are some of the other songs on this album. Some of those, this song over here, The Calling, is one that I discussed in a lot of videos on this channel. I think there's about 21 videos in a playlist in which I show you how we fully produced this song, from recording to mixing to actual releasing and promoting. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. But currently I want to look at this song, Always Yours, which is actually was an assignment that we got from the local library in the town where we rehearse. It's called Tilburg. It's in Holland, for people that are from Holland. It's in the south of Holland, and we have a regular rehearsal there once a week. And we have some connection with the people at the local library there, and they basically did an assignment to a couple of local artists to make a song about a book. So the book that we chose is this book over here. It's called Hersenschimmen by Bernlef. It's Dutch literature basically. I think it has been translated in other languages as well. I had to look up the translation, and apparently it's called chimeras. Let me see.
Chimeras.
Chimeras is what Google tells me how you pronounce it. And the subject matter is, it's quite sad because it's about a person that suffers from dementia. So he slowly loses reality, and he lives more and more in the past. And it's written from mostly from the person that's actually experiencing those symptoms. So from the patient side, if you can call somebody a patient like that. Whereas our song, it's mostly written from the perspective of the partner of the patient. So he slowly, I think when you hear the lyrics in a minute, I'll play the song in a minute, and when you hear the lyrics, you can sort of see that he's probably visiting his partner, and his partner sometimes remembers his name, sometimes not. So it's quite sad, but it's quite a powerful idea. And the end, of course, we all know the end of such an episode, which is that in the end, the person loses more and more track of reality and starts forgetting more and more, and maybe even doesn't recognize his partner anymore in the end. So it's quite an emotional song in that respect. So I suggest that we have a listen. I'll play the song in Cubase, and then I'll go over the various elements in the mix. And if you have any questions in between, by all means, let me know as well. But let me first play the song.
You're my water, I am your land. God, I miss the rain. We survived, but not stayed the same. All memories fade. And don't get me wrong, 'cause there's no escape. All fades away. Still here on the outside, lost on the inside. You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours. Best times we reunite, you're you again. When I stare into your eyes, I see you, you're out there, my love. And don't get me wrong, 'cause there's no escape. All fades away. Still here on the outside, lost on the inside. You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours. Still here on the outside, scared on the inside. You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours. Remember my name. Remember my name. You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours. Remember my name. Remember my name. Remember my name. I know that I'm always yours. Still here on the outside, lost on the inside. You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours.
Yeah, so that's the song. Like I said, it's an acoustic song. Although I think it's quite powerful, I try to produce it in quite a similar way. Let me stop Cubase here for a sec. In a very similar way as we did for the more electric, powerful tracks. So that's why it has, still a very similar sound, I think. Here on the inside, here on the outside. It's a bit of a sad story, of course, but I think it's part of life that we all get to deal with at some point, either friends or family or whatever. But let's not focus on that now, because this is an audio engineering forum. So it's an audio engineering channel, I mean. So let's focus on the mix. The first thing which was very difficult, I think, in this mix was the sound of the cajon. And I can actually put. Some people are saying hi, Ustundal. Sorry if I mispronounce your name, but yes, I'm not. I think you're probably from Turkey, I would guess. Alejandro from Argentina is there as well. Great. Secret Squirrel, who has been joining the channel. I've seen you comment a lot, and I've seen you there in some live streams, so thanks for joining in again. And people are commenting that the sound is great, so that's good as well. Let's maybe, I don't know if any of you guys have any remarks to the tracks. I'm not seeing any remarks to the playback. Ustundal is saying from Turkey. Great. Well, welcome from Turkey. Let's dive into the mix then. Let me share you my Cubase screen. So if I go to the beginning here, there's lots of tracks. I use my standard color coding here, which is yellow is vocals, basically. Green is guitars. Light green is the acoustic guitar. Slightly darker green is, well, it's still the acoustic guitar, but this would normally be my electric guitar. But in this track, I'm also playing acoustic guitar. Purple, keys. Blue is the bass. And the more pinkish color would normally be a drum set. But in this case, we use the cajon, which is, if you guys don't know what a cajon is, it's one of these instruments. So it's basically an instrument that our drummer sits on, and he plays this during our acoustic performances as well. And the drummer basically sits on this instrument and he plays it with his hands, with both hands, and depending on where you hit the drum, you basically make a different drum sound. I'm not an expert in this instrument, but when you hit it more at the bottom, you get a more similar sound to how a kick drum sounds. If you hit it somewhere between, more around the top, you get more of a snare kind of sound. And if you hit it in between, you get more like hi-hat, also toms. So you can really make it sound based on where you hit the instrument. And I think our drummer also actually has a kick drum pedal reversed, because he's sitting on the instrument, looking away from it, right? And he's playing it with his hands like this. And he also has a kick drum pedal that he plays with his heel, which slams a beater into the cajon at exactly that position where it sounds more like a kick. So what you're hearing, what you're seeing in the track, if we go back to that, you see that I have a cajon full track, I have a cajon snare track, which is basically the same thing, but he played it twice. So he played everything at once in the cajon full track, and he played the snare part of the part that he's playing separately, and he also played the kick part of the part that he's playing separately. I think he was thinking that I could then more easily balance it, but I did not actually use it like that, because I basically used the full cajon sound, but I did use these snare and kick parts for something else, which I'll show you later. Let me see. We have some remarks here. Let me just quickly go into those. Miguel, the mix is pretty phenomenal, given that I listen to it on my phone while at work. Well, thank you, Miguel. Well, maybe listen to it in your studio. Again, I provided a streaming link of the song in the description of the live stream. Secret Squirrel, you mentioned remarks. Regarding remarks, aside from a lovely arrangement, which sort of remarks would you care for to receive? Well, really anything Secret Squirrel, it's a learning experience for me as well. So by all means, maybe what's the biggest thing that you notice when you listen to this song? It's let me know. Alejandro from Peru, welcome. Alejandro also says, usually the instrument is recorded with 2 microphones, one in front catching the hi-hat and the other one in the jack to lower sound. Sorry for English. Well, I understand what you're saying, Alejandro. Yes, well, actually, that's one of the things that I noticed. Our drummer recorded this instrument at home, and he did it with a contact microphone, which is one of those flat microphones that he puts inside of the instrument, and that way he also uses that during our live performances, and then it works great because during our live performances you basically get a lot of the sound of the cajon just live, because the sound is quite loud. Yeah, you get a lot of the live sound from the cajon, and then the PA amplifies a bit of the sound that's coming from that contact microphone, which is lying inside of the cajon instrument, and that's very it works live. But I noticed that for the studio recording, you get a very, very direct sound, obviously because the microphone is in the instrument, and I would have preferred if he had also put like a microphone at a bit more of a distance. It would have given a better ambient sound. So I had to deal with a very direct sound, which I tackled a bit, but I don't think I got rid of that very directness completely. But let's go into what I try to do to make it sound a bit more distant, without sounding like it's like in a big hall or anything like that. Because the idea is still that it still needs to feel a bit more intimate and not as in a big hall. So let's have a look at that. And let me take a sip. Okay, Secret Squirrel, you're commenting on the pluck of the guitar. Hit me as a little bit sharp and a touch bright. Yeah, I can. I know what you mean, but I'm starting with a cajon. I'll get to the guitar in a minute. Then we can see how I try to deal with that. Okay, the cajon first. Maybe if we listen just to the cajon separately, this is the sound. And as you can see over here, there's a lot of plugins on there actually. Quickly go through them. This is what I tend to use for a console emulation. Well, actually, I'm using, it's from Sonymous. And recently they released an update of this called N-Console, I think it is. And I'm using that nowadays I will use that, but this is a Neve console emulation that they've carried for years, and I've been using it for years, and it's basically on every channel in my mix. Next up, you can see that I have some EQ, and yeah, part of that directness of the sound causes a bit of harshness, I felt. So that's what I try to tame. Well, there are some frequencies here that I try to tame as well, which were a bit much, but mostly this one over here, it's the dynamic, it's a dynamic EQ that tries to get rid of some of the harshness. Let me show you what the difference is. So this is with the EQ on there, and if I disable it, it basically pushes down the high and the high mids on that snare hit, which is the harsh part of the sound, I think. That's part of what I try to do. This is just a regular compressor on there, smart compressor. EQ is kit plugins, which are also kit plugins BBN105, which I also use a lot in this mix actually. I like it because it has an embedded saturation circuit over here, and I basically always give every element a little bit of extra saturation, and that's by sending it here to the mic mode, and then you can push up this knob here to get some extra saturation. Also, it's also a regular EQ, of course. I boosted a bit of snare frequencies at around 7K. And I think that's mostly it for this EQ. Yeah, I tried to tame some of the peaks because yeah, like I said, it's a very direct sound and it's very peaky. And I tried to tame some of the peaks with K-clip, not extreme, but you see the very top I sometimes shave off a little bit, also to make mastering a bit easier. This is more a character compressor. This is the compressor from Arturia. This is more treatment to try to lose a bit of the directness of the sound. So I put some tape saturation on there. And one more like that, I put some Casrock True Iron on there, which is a transformer emulation, which also gives it more of an analog sound, shaving off more of the peaks again in an attempt to get rid of that sound. And finally, what you're seeing here is I've used track spacer because a lot of the directness of the sound also came from the low and low mids. So I've used track spacer to attenuate that part of the sound using the separately recorded cajon snare. So whenever the snare hits, I basically attenuate part of the sound. Let's have a listen and see what's going on. Yeah, so you can basically see that it attenuates lows and low mids there whenever the snare hits. So let's have a listen to what the cajon sounds with all this processing and without all of this processing. And the difference is not even that big, but let's start with, and then I'll switch it off and then I'll switch it back on. And maybe also get rid of the reverb for a second, which I'll explain in a minute. Is it off? Yeah, so I think the sound gets a bit bigger with all the processing, and it gets pushed back a little, but not really as much as I would like. But I thought it was quite hard with this direct recording. Now, the other stuff, I did use the other tracks. For example, if we just listen to the cajon snare, I basically used it to get some reverb on just the snare part of the sound. So again, you can listen here. So this is just the snare reverb that you're hearing based on this sound, and it's also going, like I said, to the sidechain of the track spacer. So whenever the snare hits, it also pushes back on the full track over here. Another thing that I used, another thing that our drummer delivered is the kick track, and I'm not using that in the cajon sound per se, but I'm using it as the sidechain of another track spacer that I have on the bass. So basically, whenever the kick hits, the bass gets pushed back a little, so that I still can get a lot of low end in this track, but it doesn't add up when the kick and the bass play together. So that's basically the cajon part and what I did there. let me have a look at some more comments here. Counterside guitar, which was a bit rounder. I feel that it may feel more welcoming. Okay, let's. I'll get to the guitar in a minute. Secret Scroll. You made a natural sounding with the dynamic EQ. Yeah, exactly. Stundal, that was exactly my idea as well. Thanks. The instrument cajon is originally from Peru. I did not know that actually. I thought it was from a Spanish language region, but I'm not sure where it was coming from. So good. It's nice to know, and it's probably something that our drummer knows a lot more about than I do. But it's a nice instrument, and we always use it in our acoustic sessions. We do a lot of acoustic performances as well. So it's very nice for that, and our drummer usually uses it, like I said, with a kick pedal that he uses with its heels, and sometimes he also has a little stand with a separate hi-hat next to it, so he can also have some more on a hi-hat sound in there, a real hi-hat sound in there as well. So great. Now on to the next part of the let me actually enable the bass. Let's listen to it together with the bass guitar. Yeah, so the bass, well, you can clearly hear it's a fretless bass. Our bass player usually plays a fretless bass, which it's a very nice sound. This is just a bass guitar. So let's have a look at the processing. Again, a bridge and channel on there, and you see I'm also using this to get the level of the channel about right, around minus 18 dB fs. Apart from that, I'm using a bass rider, which basically evens out the level of the bass guitar as if an engineer was riding the fader. I understood that a lot of big time mixers actually do this, used to do this by hand when they were using consoles, like people like Andy Wallace. Right now we have this automation, which is great. It's very similar to a compressor, I feel, but it's a bit more, it's slower basically. So it's I also use a compressor, but I think it really helps to also have some fader riding. You can also do this yourself, of course. If you have, I don't have a fader here, which I have connected to Cubase, but you could also do this manually. But I think this bass rider, as well as a vocal rider that I'm using as well, works quite well. So I tend to use those. Another thing, which another plugin which I think I made a review video of it a couple of times, probably about a year ago, which is called Double Tap, which basically gets rid of a lot of the other bass processing that I usually do. I haven't used it in a full mix yet, but I'm using it on this acoustic track. And basically it has two separate compressors, one for the very low end and one for basically everything in the channel. And it works quite well. I also have a Pro EQ in which I get rid of a bit of the low end here. Add some very specific bass frequencies around 600k that brings out a bit of that fretless. Maybe we can have a listen to what it does. Yeah, so to me that's around 600 hertz, brings out a bit more of the actual fretless sound and fret buzzy kind of play, which accentuates the fact that this is a fretless bass, which is very nice, especially on an acoustic track. Like I said, this This track spacer basically uses the kick channel of the cajon in the sidechain. So whenever that kick hits, and that's on this separate channel, let me actually enable that one as well. And you should be able to see that the bass gets pushed back whenever the kick hits. Because the idea is that because the bass and the kick are using partly the same frequency, so they have overlapping frequencies. And if you then want to avoid that they mask each other, and in this case, if you want to make sure that you still hear the kick very clearly, even though the bass is playing at the same time, you can push back the bass guitar a little bit so that the kick is clearly audible. The low frequencies of the kick are clearly audible as well. And yeah, it only gets pushed back very shortly. So the bass immediately comes up again. And you basically don't notice it if you're just casually listening, but it makes the kick more audible. Okay, that's basically, I think that's mostly the bass. Okay, maybe it's also good that I show you the sends, because every channel has some reverb on it. It's my blend and size reverb trick. I did a separate video on that quite a while ago already. I think you can probably, if you look for blend and size reverb, you can probably find it on my channel. I got it again from a book and it works quite effectively. Basically, the blend is to make sure that all instruments sound as if they were recorded in the same room, so that they blend together. And the size is more to get some to get some size on the sounder. So this is typically a slightly longer reverb, and you can put certain instruments, make them larger by giving them some more size. Check out the video, it's quite interesting, I think. Okay, let me have a look at some of the comments in the meantime. Yeah, Secret Squirrel, okay, your guitar points remark got lost a bit. Well, we're almost at the guitar. Ustundal, I done a lot when we used to record to multi-track tape, especially in the vocal recordings. That time we didn't have a compressor in the studio. Mostly tape was the natural compressor. Grinning face. Yeah, it does work as well. I use tape a lot, both on individual channels as well as on the mix bus, which I'll show a bit later on if we have time. So yeah, it is a natural compressor, especially if you have real tape. I think that will probably work even better. But the tape emulation plugins do a fair job as well. So yeah, let's go on to the next instrument. And that one is the keys, and there are actually two separate keys part. One is the key, yeah, this is the main key instrument. The louder part. Yeah, so electric piano sound. It's from the Nord that our keyboard player uses. So this is everything with keys, cajon bass, the parts that we discussed so far. If you look at the processing of the keys, again I have a Bridson Pro Q3 where I'm taking out some of the frequencies around 900. I think this is because they were masking the vocal a little bit. Maybe we can actually hear this if I just for a second enable the lead vocal as well. Let's go back to the keys.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm.
So if I take away this dip here,
Always yours. Still here on the outside, scared on the inside. You don't remember my name.
yeah, I think it makes the vocal more audible, and I also hear when they're playing together that they sort of step on each other. So I think that's what I did to avoid that. The other thing is, well, this is one of my preamp plugins. I think somebody at the beginning asked about that. This is the BS Console SSL 9000J from Plugin Alliance, which I like quite a lot. And in this case, I'm using some reverb on there. Let's see what the difference is if we listen to just the keys again. Yeah, it makes them a bit more pronounced and brings out some of the lovely frequencies in that electro piano. Oh yeah, and another thing that I did for to keep the keys away from the vocal a bit is that I used the Wave Center plugin, and I took some of the center sound in there. And I see that it's also automated. So in the beginning I didn't, because it's a very acoustic intro where it's just the vocal and the keys mostly. So in there it didn't bother me yet, but then later on it started bothering me. And that's where I enabled. So over here you can see the center is disabled, and later in the track it's enabled. Let me see if I turn off the automation on this, I can let you hear the difference. This is with. Yeah, there's more center to it. And now you can hear that it's more to the sides. And that's again to make sure that it stays out of the way of the vocal. Studio on Reflection is asking, what is your blend reverb? Yes, very good question. Let's have a look at the moment. I am using, Quantum Evolution 2772 with the default hall preset, basically. I have a separate video on this one as well. It is it's a very nice reverb. It takes quite a lot of processing though, but it's very nice, and it's based on the Quantec Yardstick, and I have a separate video on it that goes into in a bit more depth, and then you can you can listen to some of the other sounds. But I think it works very well for the blend reverb. And let me just have a look at the size reverb as well then, what I'm using there. And by the way, I have an EQ there, blend reverb, which basically just gets rid of some of the low end and the high end of that reverb. Size reverb, I'm using Seventh Heaven in this case. The Sunset Chamber, which is not even that big, but it gives a bit of size. Okay, let's get back to, I think the keys, there's also some strings there, but don't think there's anything very special happening there. Okay, I'm taking out a lot of low end. So to make sure those strings do not mask anything else in the track. There's some compression on there. Again, the kit plugin is BBN 105 with some saturation. Adding some high end. And for this one as well, I took out quite a lot of the center. So that is really, you hear it very much on the sides and not in the center at all. Okay. Let me move on to the guitars now. Yeah, I think in the guitars, maybe Secret Squirrel, you were talking, if you're still there, you were talking about this part in the beginning, which is the solo part. If I look at your comment, I think you said this. When I began listening, the plug of the guitar hit me as a little bit sharp. Oh, maybe you mean on the other guitar though. Is it this one you mean, or is it maybe on this acoustic part over here? I think over here, well, this one here. So it's the arpeggios there, which our singer is playing. Although I think that doesn't sound particularly sharp. This sounds a bit more sharp. Because it's a solo sound. Yeah, it may also be the difference in the guitars. Our singer is, so the arpeggio sound, that's actually a Martin guitar that he's using, which is typically darker. I recorded that with my KM84 mic from Neumann, which is an excellent mic for acoustic guitars. But I'm not using that mic on my Taylor guitar, which is, it has a lot more high end and it's more clicky. I think maybe that's still what you mean that you heard. And that's the KM84. Although it's a great mic for acoustic guitar, I don't think it works particularly well on that Taylor. So what I used on the Taylor is actually a much darker mic, which is this SM7B. I also did a separate video on that in which I do a shootout of various mics on my guitar. And I think this one came out on top for me at least. So that it's dark. It counteracts the high end of the guitar with the darkness of the microphone. But still in the mix, I of course, let's have a look at what I do in the mix to this, which is quite a lot. As you can hear, there's quite a lot of effect on there as well, like delays and stuff. It's bouncing all over the place. And what I do is I get rid of some annoying frequencies in there. Make sure that we're back in the Cubase view. Okay, you meant the first one, so I assume that is that the first one in the project or the first one I showed you? I'll discuss both anyway. So I'm also, this was, somehow I ended up with a lot of noise in this track. Let me just let you listen to it without the noise reduction. You can really hear it. And listen to how effective this noise reduction is actually. It's from Acon Digital, Denoise 2. You basically make a noise profile using part of the track which does not contain any guitar, and then it filters it out quite effectively. Apart from that, the guitar has some compression on it from Smart Comp 2. I use Soothe to get rid of some of the harshness that I heard. There's again a Kit Plugins channel strip on there as well. And to make it sound even more analog, there is some transformer from True Iron on there as well. Yeah, there is a long guitar solo in there, which has very similar effects. If you listen to this, for example. As you can see, it's quite a lot. There's very much the same processing on there because it's the same guitar as well. It sounds a bit sharp maybe when you listen to it like this, but in the mix, yeah, I felt it is quite okay. Yeah. Secret Squirrel says, impressive tool, Acon. Yeah, it is actually. I also have, well, actually at the time, I don't think I had Isotope RX, and I also didn't have Spectralayers, which I recently bought, the Spectralayers 10 version. But Acon, just for noise removal, it works quite well. Let's go to the other arpeggio guitar then. Yeah, basically our singer plays these arpeggios in the beginning. And yeah, the chain is very similar as the other guitar, but the settings are quite different. I get rid of the low end. There's again a Smart Comp on there, which I've used heavily in this mix. Soothe again to get rid of some of the harshness frequencies. Another Kit Plugins with some, well, there's a little bit of 15K that I add here, and a little bit of body here at 1200. And there's another low cut filter here, very low, deep down. Oh, and apparently I also felt that it needed some sizzle. Let's actually listen to the difference of that with Fresh Air, which is a Slate plugin. I think this one was even free. It may still even be free, but let's listen to the difference in sound here for a sec. Yeah, it sounds darker without the Fresh Air on there. And I felt it needed some sizzle, which this provided quite nicely. Okay, so let's listen to the track with everything on there apart from the vocals. Let me see, put everything in solo here. Maybe just from the second verse, or maybe over here, second chorus. Yeah, so that's what we have so far. Now on to the vocals. Yeah, there are some nice, before we go to the main vocal, there are some special things in here, which is the whisper vocal over here, which sounds like this. So it kind of ping-pongs between left and right. And let's listen to that in the full track.
Fades away.
It's a nice effect, I think. And I think it's over here, it's there again.
All fades away.
Okay, it's less clear there, but it's a bit of a production thing. Yeah, we have a background vocal. Our keyboard player is singing background vocals over here. Let's listen to.
Remember my name. I know that I'm always yours.
Yeah, it's a background part. So there's just some limiting of the background vocals to make sure there's not so much in the way of other stuff like the main vocal or the other instruments. It can be quite band limited. I have two compressors on there, which is the Pulsar 1178, which reins in the peaks a bit, and one of my favorite vocal compressors, which is the TubeTech CL1B, which I'm also using on the main, on the lead vocal, but also on this background vocal. I think it compresses quite a lot probably. Let's have a look.
Remember my name. I know that I'm always yours.
Yeah, up to 10 dB, but it does this very easily. And some EQ again from the Kit BBM 105. Apparently I felt that this sounded crunchy enough, so I don't add extra saturation. Just added a bit of 3.9K, I see, and got rid of some of the low end at 220. And there's a low cut filter on there as well. Yeah, let's do the vocal processing when I discuss the main vocal. So this is the main vocal over here. Of course, yeah, the most important thing of the song.
We survived, but not stayed the same. All memories fade. And oh.
So this is more the relaxed part of the song towards the end. Yeah, he gets a bit more forceful.
You don't remember my name, but I know that
That's the very end.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours.
Yeah, so there's a lot of processing on there. Again, a Bridson to start off with. Then I get rid of the low end with Pro Q. Yeah, again, the two compressor trick, where I have one compressor which shaves off the peaks. In the quiet part is probably not doing a lot.
Into your eyes, I see you, you're out there, my love.
Yeah, not a lot at all on the more heavy parts, on the louder parts.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always...
Yeah, it does a bit more, but yeah, not really even up to 3 dB of compression. I do like the sound of the 1176 on our singer's vocal though, so I usually always have that as the first compressor. Even when it doesn't do anything, I think the 1176 still gives a bit of that edgy sound, which I like a lot, especially on our singer's voice. I liked it less on our keyboard player's background vocals, so that's why I used a more clean 1178 on there. But on our singer's voice, yeah, the 1176 is very nice. Well, I use Soothe on there as well. Again, I think this is just the default setting to get rid of some resonances in the vocal. Let's have a listen to what it actually gets rid of.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always...
Yeah, I think it does make quite a difference. So it gets a lot less harsh. Next, I also have the vocal rider on this vocal. So again, instead of writing the fader or programming fader moves, I let the Waves vocal rider do this. So let's see how that works.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours.
So it basically evens out the volume of the vocal, and I do that just prior to the second compressor on the track, which is again TubeTech CL1B, and that makes it easier for this compressor to do its job. But I think it's probably still compresses quite a lot. Let's have a look.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours.
Nah, about 5 to 7 dB, which is not even that much for this compressor. Another kit plugins, BBN 105 for a bit of the Neve sound, some extra 15K, some extra, low body in the vocal, and also around 180. Pro DS, de-esser, shaves off the S's and the harsh sibilant sounds. And then after that, I add some sibilants again with the fresh air to make it sound a bit more bright. Let's see what a difference that makes on this vocal.
When I stare into your eyes, I see you, you're out there, my love.
Yeah, it adds a bit. But as you can see, I add like about 2 in mid-air, which is almost 0, and I add about 6 high air, which is also almost 0. So I don't go overboard, but that adds just that little touch of things. Now on to the sends. Again, blend reverb and size reverb. Then I also use vocal plate, slap delay, vox delay, and some standard hall, and then reverb delay extra. I'll get to that, but maybe if we remove this and see what a difference it makes.
When I stare into your eyes, I see you, you're out there, my love.
So it makes quite a difference. If you look at what plugins do I have on there, again, the Vox plate, I'm using the Quantum Evolution plugin. Set to, the preset is default hall, but I think I adjusted some of these parameters to make it sound a bit more like a plate reverb. Vox delay. Okay, that's just a timeless 2. Maybe I didn't have timeless 3 yet at the time, but it basically gives a stereo reverb, which do, I think, 8 notes over here. Slap delay. I'm using the Waves J37. Apparently, this setting was modeled after the way John Lennon always did some slap delay on his voice. 166 milliseconds left and right. So I've been using that quite a lot, and it basically just makes the vocal sound a bit more thick, which I like. Hall reverb standard. I'm using the Eventide. Well, it's not even a hall. Apparently I switch it up by room, but you can see that on this effects channel I have a lot of different reverbs that I tried out, and I finally settled on this stereo room from the SP2060 plugin from Eventide. This is a bit of a special one. This is actually a trick that I picked up from Mark Daniel Nelson probably about a year ago, around the time that I started this mix, and I figured, let's try out this trick. And it basically is a way to let the ambience come up after the vocal dies down. So basically, when the vocal is singing, you hear less of the ambience, and then when the vocal stops singing, you hear the ambience come up. Maybe we should have a listen to what that actually sounds like. And I use that mostly in the beginning of the track, where the vocal is very intimate and quiet. Let's have a listen to this.
You're my water, I am your land. God, I miss the rain. We survived, but not stayed the same. All memories fade.
So basically what you hear whenever the vocal stops, you hear the reverb coming up. And that's mostly done by this reverb delay extra. And what this is, oh, I did have the timeless 3. So it's basically some reverb, which is generated on whatever I send to this channel. After which there is a sorry, the first one was, of course, this is delay, not reverb, and this delay is going into the reverb. In this case, the LX480 plate reverb, yeah, with these parameters over here. And after that, I have a Pro C2, which uses the voice as a sidechain. So what basically happens is when the voice is when the lead vocal sings, then basically the output of this channel is pushed down, and when the lead vocal stops, that means the output of this channel is restored, and it rises in level when you listen to it. Let me again see if we can look at that at the same time as that we display this reverb plugin over here. Let's try it out over here.
You're my water, I am your land. God, I miss the rain.
Yeah. So what you're seeing is each time the vocal
survived, but not stayed the same. All memories fade.
So you're not bothered by this quite spacious sound whenever the lead vocal actually sings, but after that it comes up and it gives a nice sort of, it gives a nice woolly ambience around the vocal, which I think was very fitting for this more intimate track. All right. Let's see some comments. Armaset Audio, thumbs up. Well, great. Thanks for that, Armaset Audio. Great that you like it. You can listen to the track, of course. I provided streaming links in the description. Ustendal says it's normal sounding. I'm not sure exactly anymore what you're referring to, but it's normal sounding is probably good. So thanks. Sidechain reverb compress. Yes, that's what I'm what I try to explain. I think is that the compression pushes away the reverb because the sidechain, the vocal is going to the sidechain of that reverb. Well, not to the reverb, but to the compressor on the reverb channel. So it basically pushes it down when the lead vocal is singing. And the effect is that you hear it coming up after the lead vocal is done singing. So in the pause of the lead vocal, which is very nice. I think I mostly use that at the very open parts of the track. So when there is actually room for that reverb to do something, and I tone it down later in the track when there's more instruments playing, and it just gets confusing if you hear that reverb going through all the other instruments as well. So it's mostly in the beginning, and I think at the very end of the track where there's also a very intimate part. So, okay, Ustendal, you were talking about the acoustic guitar. Okay, great. Let's see. Let me move again to, but I think we're almost through this mix. What I still want to show you is maybe the mix bus processing, which is on the stereo out. It's the bus part of the bridge and console emulation which is on there. So it's and this makes it possible to control all the other bridge and plugins just from this bus plugin. So it adds, it does add a certain sound as well to the bus, but it also allows you to turn on and off the various plugins on all the individual channels. For example, by this button over here, or you can trim it more on all channels at the same time. It's very nice, and I explain it a bit better in the end console plugin as well. in my video on the End Console plugin. So by all means, have a look at that to see what's going on. Let me see if I can. My mouse is refusing a bit at the moment. Doing some weird things, maybe too busy. Let me turn off that highlight. Okay. Yeah, another thing which I always use on the mix bus is my Oxford inflator. My Oxford inflator, sorry, it's very old already. It provides some analog sound to the whole thing. Let me actually show you what difference it makes. So if we start somewhere in chorus 1, for example.
Inside, lost on the inside. You don't remember my name, but I know that
Yeah, it may be subtle, but it's I like it. Yeah, this is my analog chain. I've shown that a couple of times on the channel already. I basically have a Portico 5043 compressor in my rack behind me, and I also have an A-Designs Hammer equalizer in the rack behind me, and I really love those devices, and so that's why I always use them on my mix bus. It gives that extra sort of shine and depth that I really like it. I have some plugins which do a very similar thing, but I've never been able to find the plugins which do the exact same thing as these devices do, and yeah, so that's why I'm still using them, even though they're sometimes a bit of a pain when you have to restore a mix. But at the same time, I usually have them at the same settings anyway, so it works quite well. Some comments here. Nick mentions nice mix, man. Well, thank you very much, Nick. Secret Squirrel mentions impressive. I can definitely hear the inflator. Is that the only track you use it on? Yes, Secret Squirrel. That is actually very much the only track that I use it on. On individual tracks, I tend to use more like things like True Iron, for example, or even the console emulation, right? The Britson in this case, and nowadays I use End Console from Sonymous, which also provides some of that flavor. But the inflator, yeah, it's really it's almost a secret weapon on the mix bus, and I really like it a lot. Even though it's actually a very old plugin. I was talking about my analog devices chain. Yeah, let's listen to it with the analog devices off, although I think there is a bit of a level difference, so it's probably hard to judge what they do exactly. But let's see if I can, if you can hear this.
inside, lost on the inside. You don't remember my name, but I know that
Yeah, so obviously it's a huge difference, but it's not just. Sorry, I think I didn't show you the screen. Let me do that again while showing the screen so that you can clearly see when I'm taking it on or off.
inside, lost on the inside. You don't remember my name, but I know that
Yeah, so like I was saying, I think it's a huge difference, but it's not just the difference in these devices that you're hearing. You're also hearing a bit of the level difference. So it may be hard to judge, but yeah, to me, it really makes a big difference, even when you're listening at the same level. Okay, what I also have on this mix bus is the UAD Ampix ATR 102 tape emulation, which I have the ultra linear preset for, I think. Let's see, yes, ultra linear ATR. I think those were separately downloadable presets at some point. I don't think they were part of the default presets. But I like these. Let's listen to the difference.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours.
Yeah, again, I think it gives some extra depth and yeah, some extra zing to the track, for whatever that means actually. Okay, I also have a bit of a stereo widener on there. Yeah, I know the Produce Like a Pro, Mark Daniel Nelson recently had a video in which he said, don't do this, but I like it. So, and I don't think this causes any mono compatibility problems, but let's have a listen to what it does and let's listen to with it and without. This is with first.
Best times we reunite, you're you again. When I stare into your eyes, I see you, you're out.
Yeah, without it, you could say that it's a more stable center image, but I do like the wider sound when it's on. So I'll leave that on. I see that Ustondal has some remarks. It's quite audible without. I think you're talking about the tape emulation, yeah? Did you try the core emphasis? I'm not sure what that is actually. Let's have a look. Core emphasis. Transformer, tape delay, wow and flutter. I'm not sure I know what you mean exactly. Maybe you can put it in the chat. Or is that another preset maybe? Okay, let me know, because I'm not sure what you meant there exactly. You did talk about the tape, so that's good. But okay, let me continue with the bass room plugin. This is a plugin by Mastering the Mix, and it really focuses on everything, but yeah, in the bass and low mid section. So at 320, it has a lot of bands in there, and you can basically target certain pre-recorded track sounds. There's lots of settings. I see that I've used a user setting. I'm not exactly sure which. I probably imported a track and said, that's a bass sound I like for an acoustic track. Please tell me how to get that. And then I adjusted these bands in the bass to get that. Let's listen to what it sounds with and without.
Don't get me wrong, 'cause there's no escape. All fades away.
Let's try a chorus.
Remember my name. You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours.
Yeah, so it's probably, if you listen on good speakers, it probably makes quite a difference. I'm listening on these in-ear monitors at the moment, which are not very good. These are from Me Professional, M6 Pro. I mean, they're okay for on stage, but for mixing, yeah, they're not really suitable for mixing. But I need something to monitor myself, otherwise my speakers will be blaring into the microphone, which I don't like on a live chat. So, but if any of you know very good in-ear monitors which also work for mixing, or maybe if you manufacture in-ear monitors and you want to get them reviewed on my channel, hey, by all means, let me know and I'll have a look. Or if you are using good in-ear monitors which work well for mixing, let me know as well. I'm very interested. I think Ustundal said something down left on the tape. Okay, so let's have another look at this tape plugin, if my mouse starts behaving again. Okay, I'm sorry, I will get rid of that yellow circle because I think it's doing something to my mouse. This is what Stendhal is saying on the tape plugin. Down left. Oh, this one. Emphasis EQ. Okay, I've never used that actually. Does it make a difference? Well, we can have a listen.
You don't remember my name, but I know that I'm always yours. Remember my name. Remember my name. Remember my name. I know.
Okay, I must say on my in-ear monitors, which I just told you are not very good for mixing. I don't think I hear a difference, but I'll have a look at the manual of this and maybe listen on my speakers later to see if it makes a difference. Do you have good experience with this, or are you always using this? Because you immediately mentioned it. So Core is EU standard. Okay, that's what you're saying. Okay, CCR is EU standard. Sorry, I didn't read it correctly. Yeah, great. I'll have a look at this. It sounds interesting. Ollie's there as well. Hi, Ollie. Yeah, so I think this is pretty much what I did on this mix, which is worth mentioning. So again, if you like this track, I put a streaming link to the track in the description, so you can have another listen in your studio on your full system, even if you're listening just on your laptop or on your iPhone now, for example. Yeah, it's I think it's a nice track. The subject matter is quite, well, delicate, like I told you in the beginning. It's an acoustic mix, but again, I think I tried to mix it in the same vein as the other songs on the album, which are much more electro rock kind, and I think it has some power as well. It's not a typical, very intimate acoustic mix. Although we do play it more intimately when we have an acoustic gig. We sometimes play this song in the audience without any amplification, and that goes down very well as well. So it's, yeah, I think it's a nice song about a delicate subject. So let me see if there's any more comments here. Ollie says, I'm always amazed when I hear your speaking voice, how great your singing is. Your voice sounds really beautiful when singing. Well, Ollie, let me disappoint you because I'm not singing this. This is Geert, our singer from my band The Wash. Let me show you a picture of Geert. If I can find the browser over here. This is my band The Wash. So this is me smiling here in the background, and the guy in front here, that's Geert. Geert van den Burg, our singer. And yes, he has a great voice. He usually records his vocals. For this track, he has recorded his vocals over here in my studio, Lanewood Studios, my home studio, on a U47 emulation from Peluso through my analog equipment. And yeah, his voice always sounds great. He gets a lot of nice comments when we play live as well. He can really do this live as well, so it's great. But it's not my my voice singing, so that's maybe it's disappointing. So I'm not sure whether you were just commenting on my singing voice or whether you like my spoken word as well. But it's two different people, so good to know. Okay, guys. Well, I've been streaming for about almost 1.5 hours now, I see. So I don't know if you guys have any more questions. If you have ideas for live streams, by all means, put them in the chat, or when the stream is done, put them in the comments. If you're seeing this stream after the fact, by all means, put them in the comments. I would really like to know, give me some ideas for streams. I don't always have time for live streaming every week. but it's kind of nice to interact with you guys directly in this way. And I can also go into certain remarks, and it's a very nice way and something else to do on the channel as well, as apart from the weekly videos. There's another weekly video coming up tomorrow. I think I already put it in Premiere, put it up as a premiere. It's about another mixing trick. My best viewed video on this channel is actually about a mixing trick with the SSL, which I released about 1.5 months ago. So if you guys are liking that, yes, I can do some more classic mixing tricks, and one of them I'll do tomorrow. So check it out. I think it's about New York compression. I don't even remember anymore, because I've been preparing a lot of videos for my holiday later in September, so that I have some videos lined up for you, so that you're still able to get a video every week, even though I'm actually on holiday in that period. Secret Squirrel, Lanewood Studios, this is a great stream. Well, thank you very much, Secret Squirrel. So it was a bit of a tryout, this looking at a mix, but I'm glad you like it. It's a bit too long for a regular video, but that's why I think this format is quite nice for it. And you're also saying, Ustendal, thank you for your shares. Well, you're welcome. Secret Squirrel, maybe take us on a trip to your local music store as live, so that we can ask you gear questions that we may have, and you may be able to answer or ask better questions as our rep. Yeah, well, it's something that we don't actually. We have a bigger music store here, but obviously we would need some kind of permission to film in there and ask questions and all that, and look at and touch the gear. So, but it's an idea. I'll certainly write it down and see if I can do something in that direction or something similar. It's a nice idea, and it's quite novel. So that's also a good thing. Thanks for the idea. Any more questions or remarks? Because otherwise, I think I'm going to let you go for the evening, and I'm going to do some relaxing myself. Yeah. So thanks for being here. It's always great to have some people on the stream. Or even though I saw that the stream usually gets looked at after the fact quite a lot as well, which is also very nice. But you guys are here to give your comments and to react, so that's always great. Thanks for supporting the channel, for being there. You all have a great evening, and see you next time.